It's still an O-Ring revolution out there.
I love the quality and the feel of these figures. Like one of the rockets in there. I am always such a big fan of an action figure that has places to store all of their accessories. Things are so cool. You get these little set of decals so you can customize these even further. That's a pretty fun way to customize your droids up a little bit here.
Keeping the spirit of the 80s and the 90s alive, that is what all of these independent toy companies are doing so well. Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan. Thank you for joining me for another video here on the channel. I'm pretty excited to take a look at the figures that we're looking at here today. If you've been following me for a while, you know in the last couple years I've been in what I've been calling my G.I. Joe-naissance, right? I've been really enjoying this O-Ring revolution. While I've been really discovering the vintage G.I. Joe toy line, I've also really fallen in love with all of the new O-Ring action figures that have been out there, many of which have been coming from independent toy companies. And these independent toy companies are making some of the absolute best when it comes to the O-Ring style action figures. And one of the ones that I picked up and I talked about in my O-Ring Revolution video a while back was a line called Delta-17. I think I was most impressed by that line because it just really had that perfect vintage G.I. Joe action figure feel. Like those felt like the O-Ring figures that I remember picking up in the early 90s. And they're still pumping them out. So today, we actually get an early in-hand look at their JoeFest-exclusive offerings. So without further ado, let's dive right in and check them out. So we'll start by taking a look at the Delta-17 War in the Shadows 2-pack. We got this really nice blister card here featuring two new action figures. Technically, two new paint decos for some existing figures in the line, where they've now got this sort of desert camo look to them, which is very nice, the tans and the blacks. So you can see the two figures come packaged side by side in the blister card. You've got all of their accessories laid out above their heads, figure stands behind the figures. This is a really nice feeling blister card too, really nice card back there, good blister card. You can see it's glued on. The back of which does feature some artwork of the Thunder Battalion versus the Delta squad there. Really fun stuff. We're going to be tearing into this and getting a closer look at the figures, but also weapons pack. That's right. This is another exclusive that the folks are going to be offering at the Delta-17 booth there at JoeFest. Weapons pack WP1A. It's a nice little baggie filled with all kinds of extra weapons. They did also note, so mine does have the hang tab on there. This is the final look too, so everybody should have a hang tab when they purchase this pack here. So let's go ahead and rip these new figures open. We'll get a closer look at them. So here's our Delta Squad soldier outside of the box so you guys can get a good look at him. If you have never seen the Delta-17 toy line before, or if you didn't catch my previous video on these, I love the quality and the feel of these figures. Like, these do an amazing job of capturing the feel of the vintage O-Ring G.I. Joe style action figures. I think the plastic quality feels very similar. You got that great O-Ring articulation there. And then as far as the rest of the articulation goes, you can see the heads are on the same style joint as those vintage figures. The arms go outwards, forwards, backwards. You got the swivel at the bicep, the single joint at the elbow. You do have swivels at the wrists there. And then the legs, of course, bend at the knee. No other articulation in the feet or the boot cuts or anything like that. So exactly what you would expect from an O-Ring style action figure. And they look great. The colors are good. The paint quality is good. The plastic feels awesome, like I said. You do also get an included figure stand for these guys, which is very nice as well. And as you can see, they plug in nice and tight to it. So that way you'll be able to perfectly stand these guys on your shelf, which is awesome.
And of course, they come with a slew of accessories. We got guns, we got a rocket launcher with this guy, which is amazing. We've got his backpack, we've got the little knife, we've got 3 little rockets. So this is very cool. Place the backpack on his back with the nice little peg hole on his back, like you would expect again from a vintage O-Ring figure. Plus, I really love that you can store so many of his weapons right there on that pack. Like, we can take this little knife, and you can see it perfectly fits on that slot on the side. It's got this peg on the side of the backpack, so we could fit this on the side as well. We've also got the included little gas mask accessory here, which just fits right around the figure's head, snaps on around the neck to complete the overall look of the figure here, which is just so very cool. You could also store the rocket launcher on the side. Like, I placed his gun there, but you know, if you wanted to, you could see you've got that peg hole there on the side, and that plugs onto the back just like so. You've even got these little pegs on the backpack where you can store his extra rockets. I am always such a big fan of an action figure that has places to store all of their accessories. I think that is so cool. I'm gonna put one of the rockets in there. There we go. Extremely cool figure. And I do love this new kind of desert camo style look to him. All right, so we've got our Thunder Battalion figure here. Also very nice looking. You can see he's got the larger belt, the pack, the medic pack on here and everything. That is also a removable belt. And he also comes with a slew of accessories. Let's go ahead and stick him on his figure stand here, and we'll get him all armed up. There we go, we can plug the pack on his back just like so. And then we've got a helmet that can go over his masked face. But we also have 2 options for the little blast shield that comes down over his face. You've got one that has a solid red visor, and then you've got one where the visor space is cut out so you can see his eyes behind the mask. That way you can put whichever one you want on there. You can see there's just little pegs that plug onto the side of the helmet here like so. And that way we can lower that shield down over his face, or we can raise it up. So there we go, there's our 2 new warring soldiers there in their new paint deco. These are great. I loved them the first time around. I love them again with this new deco here. I think they look awesome. And I keep talking about how we've had these before, so it's comparison time, my friends. Let me just go ahead and bring in those initial releases here of these same characters, just so you can see these guys side by side with those new decos there. We're going from the green to the tan, we're going from the black to the tan, but it's nice to have some variety on the shelf with all of these soldiers from the Delta Squad and the Thunder Battalion. And then we've got these 2 wonderful weirdos, Hailstorm. That's right, we got some mechs, some robots. I love this sort of thing, and I love seeing them do some wild stuff like this here in the Delta-17 line. So we got 2 here, color variations. We got a gray one and a blue one, and you can see they come in these very cool little window boxes where the window is on 2 sides of the box, the front and the side, giving you a really nice turnaround of the figure within. You can see it looks like we got a sheet of stickers on the inside as well. And then we've got a bit of a backstory here for Hailstorm Unit V2.010, and the blue one is V2.02. So how about that? They're actually different unit names. So pretty cool stuff. Let's open up these boxes and get a closer look at the Hailstorm units. Man, check out these Hailstorm units. These things are so cool. I love these. I'm gonna go and do a tape measure with these real quick because obviously, you know, the Delta-17 figures are in like that 3 3/4 inch scale, just so you can see the measurements with these guys here. And let's go ahead and we'll just bring in like your standard Delta-17 action figures here, just so you can see where they measure up with the Hailstorm units. They're a little bit shorter, but they are some hefty, bulky figures, which is super cool. We'll go ahead and take a look at the details here. So I love the feel of these. Again, the plastic feels nice on these. They're very similar to the way the action figures in the line feel, like the standard O-Ring figures. And I'm actually really impressed with the articulation here. I mean, for some robot characters that don't have legs, you get some pretty nice movement here. You can see that the heads have the ability to rotate left and right, and they do slightly bobble up and down there. But then the arms can go forwards and backwards, but you can see you do also have like these hinge joints at the shoulders. So look at that. You can bring the arms all the way out to the sides there, which is really nice. You still have a swivel at what would be the bicep. You've got a single joint at the elbow there. The Gatling guns on the front can spin and rotate. And then of course we can rotate at what would be the waist there. That's attached to the tank treads. Now, the tank treads here are all just sculpted in place. On the underside, you can see that there are smaller wheels embedded, so that way it still rolls across a hard surface. You can see it's got a decent roll there, but good enough that it won't like roll off of a shelf, I don't think, unless you got like a really bad slant. But I like this. I think these feel really, really nice. Very, very cool builds here. Now, you can see that the two figures do appear to be identical, aside from the paint deco there. So you got that brighter blue and red, which looks really cool. But then you got that gray, which has a bit more of kind of like a neutral tone to it. But both of these, I think, look incredibly cool. And here's something else that is worth pointing out with these figures. The Gatling guns on the front, they are removable as I'm throwing it at the camera, but you can see it's just a peg, so you can pop those right out of socket there. And there are some removable bits here, including the little wire up here on the head is a removable piece. Now, they have teased on the Delta-17 Instagram page, I saw, that there might be a reason for that. Perhaps some kits later on where you can build these out and change their appearances, or maybe for some other releases in the future. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do here, but that is certainly by design that all of those pieces are removable. The backpack is also removable from the figure, so that is worth noting as well. And actually, I'm curious, is this even the same peg hole? Look at that. Same peg hole. So you can actually swap that onto any of your other figures, or you could swap the backpacks around. That's really nice foresight right there. So another thing that you get included with these two Hailstorm droids are sticker sheets. You get these little set of decals so you can customize these even further, giving you the various insignias of the warring sides, as well as some letters and numbers so that we can customize these guys up. Let's play around with this a little bit, shall we? Here, I really like the blue one here. Let's customize this guy up a little bit. Let's see how good my skills are here of applying some decals. Okay, let's start with the letter P. See if I can get that on there really good. Okay, so now I'm gonna put the D on here. We gotta try to make this real straight across. Looks like there's just enough room on the chest piece here for these. Do have a little bit of overlap here with this sticker. Let me see how good I can get that on there. There you go, PD. I'm sure you guys can figure out what that stands for. We're gonna add some numbers now. Let's do 8. Sure we get enough space here. Ooh, I don't want it to be sticking off there too much. There we go. 8. 8-2. All right. So I certainly could have done a better job than that. It's not perfectly straight, but now we've got Pixel Dan 82, 1982, of course. That's a pretty fun way to customize your droids up a little bit here. I'm gonna go ahead and add one of the insignias to the back here too. Ooh, this one might be a little too big for that space. Oh, I think that's gonna work though. So you can see the dark blue of this particular robot here does make it a little hard to see the decals, but nonetheless, I like that we've got that customization. So if you want to customize these guys up a little bit, you've got the options to do so. These are super fun. I love seeing really creative stuff like this to kind of flesh out this retro O-Ring style toy line. So there you go, my friends, the JoeFest exclusive offerings from the Delta-17 line. These are
Super fun, still really well-made action figures. And if you're somebody who loves the vintage G.I. Joe line or just that O-Ring aesthetic in general, I would urge you to check these out. I think these are a ton of fun. And I love what they're getting creative too and introducing some of the stuff like those Hailstorm Droids. I think those are super cool. So much fun, and I'm excited to see what they do with those going forward. Obviously, there's gonna be some customization that's happening with those. So JoeFest is where these are being sold first. Unfortunately, I will be missing JoeFest this year because I had other engagements. But for those of you going to the show, you'll be able to pick these up from them. However, they have said that these will also be available online after JoeFest. So make sure you're following these guys on all of your socials so that you can stay up to date with what's going on with Delta-17. Thanks to the team for sending these over so we can get a good look at them here on the channel. Let me know in the comments what you think. And as always, thanks for watching. Until next time, my friends.